सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। हरिः ओं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओं. We are in Karma Yoga now. Completed Sloka 3. We have to enter Sloka 4 now. Before entering Sloka 4, let us do the recap of Sloka 3. In Sloka 3, Paramatma told that Asmin loke dvenishta asti. In this lokam, in this empirical world, there are two lifestyles prescribed by me. Two lifestyles are prescribed by me. One is called Karma Yogam, other is called Jnana Yogam. Karma Yoga is more suitable for a householder, a Gruhastu. And Sankhya Yogam is more amenable for a sannyasi. Now Arjuna had a doubt which one to follow, Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga. Actually, there are no options. They are not optional methods. Scriptures uniformly mention that there is only one means for liberation. Jnānādēva tu kaivalyam. Jnanam and Jnanam alone will lead you to moksha. Tamevam vidvan amrutaiha bhavati. Nanya pantha ayanaya vidyate. There is no alternative method of liberation. Therefore, no question of choosing one of them. Now, no question of choosing one of them means then you get one more doubt. Why so many are prescribed? If you look at the Bhagavad Gita, we clearly see that there are 4 types of yogas mentioned. One is the Karma Yogam, then Dhyana Yogam, Upasana Yogam, then we have Bhakti Yogam and Jnana Yogam. There is another chapter called Rajavidya Raja Guhyam, that is not a separate yoga, that is nothing but Jnana Yoga. So when you talk of yoga, the word title with yoga, only 4 are there. Karma Yoga is there, Upasana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga is there, and Jnana Yogam is there, and Bhakti Yogam is there. Why Bhagavad Gita is mentioning so many names when only Jnana Yoga gives you liberation? That is also a question. Then Paramatma clarifies these yogas like Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga or Dhyana. Upasana Yogam and Dhyana Yogam both are same. Meditation, both are same. So, in Upasana Yogam, we have 2 types of Upasanas. One is called a preparatory Upasana, that is Saguna Ishvara Upasana. Once you perform Saguna Ishvara Upasana, you have that Chitta Ekagrata and Chitta Suddhi, then you can enter into Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam is also a Upasana. Both are upasanas, Vedantic meditation. So both are required. When you talk of upasana, basically we talk of the fundamental primary dhyanam, that is Saguna Ishvara Upasana. So by Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, we get the cleansing done by these 2 yogas. The cleansing is done by these two yogas. One is the karma yogam will cleanse all antahkaranas. Cleansing means what? Will it wash with some surf powder or something like that? No. Cleansing means, see, earlier your mind, your antahkaranas are predominant by aham mama buddhi. And they have a lot of ragadveshas. Kamam, krodham, lobham, madam, matsyaryam, all these impurities are, very much dominative. Now, after doing karma yoga and upasana yoga, they are mellowed down. They have come to almost zero level. They don't come to zero level. They do surface even for jnanis, but they can be controlled. They are all within the regulation of this jnani. A jnani can regulate them and channelize them. So, karma yogam and upasana yogam will give a kind of qualification for you to enter into jnana yoga. So, that is why directly only jnana yoga is not taught. The supplementary or the auxiliary, which are the yogas which are useful for jnana yoga, were also given in Bhagavad Gita. So it calls for qualification. Karma yoga and upasana yoga helps you to acquire a qualification for jnana yoga. It gives you refinement and readiness. First one has to perform karma yoga and then enter into jnana yoga. So, Paramatma explained this in the previous chapter, that is chapter 2, very clearly. But because of the filtered listening, Arjuna wants to run away from the battlefield because he doesn't want to kill his own grandfather and guru. So he is finding an escape route. So he immediately jumped, okay, I will take up jnana yoga and be done with it. But there is no choice. It is not, either this or that. Something like, should I wash my hands or should I eat? You have to wash your hands and then eat. So this is the, order. Karma yoga, upasana yoga have to finish. Karma yoga includes upasana yoga. So upasana yoga is not separately mentioned. Karma yoga contains upasana and panchamahayajnas, all sattvic karmas. So by doing this karma yoga, one can get that readiness and refinement, that is sadhana chatushtaya sampannam, and becomes qualified to jnana yoga and then enter into jnana yoga. If you directly enter jnana yoga, what happens? You are not ready. You want jnana, but your instruments are not ready. You don't have the qualification. You know it only academically. You can acquire the knowledge academically, but it won't give you the fruits because you have not cleansed your antahkaranas. So because you have not cleansed your antahkaranas, it will not give you the proper result. So this is what we say by karma yoga first and jnana yoga next. Jnana yoga without karma yoga, the spiritual journey is incomplete. Jnana yoga without karma yoga, the spiritual journey is impossible. Because you only get academic knowledge and will not get the fruit. And imagine the other case, karma yoga without jnana yoga, the spiritual journey is incomplete. Incomplete. It will not be complete. What about the bhakti yoga? I mentioned about karma yoga, upasana yoga. What about the bhakti yoga? Bhakti yoga is there in and through all the yogas. May it be karma yoga, may it be upasana yoga, may it be jnana yoga. Without bhakti, these yogas are not possible. Bhakti is the essential ingredient in all these yogas. Like Antarvahini, the Saraswati Nadi is Antarvahini. Like that, in all these yogas, bhakti is an essential ingredient. In Jnana Yoga, actually bhakti is in its peak. Because the ordinary bhakti, there is always a difference between a god and the sadhaka. In Jnana Yoga, there is no difference. God and bhakta, that distance is not there. There is not even an iota of difference. So, Jnana Yoga is also having bhakti incorporated in it. Without bhakti, there is no Jnana Yoga. So, Paramatma gave Asmin Loke Dve Nishtha Asti. What are the two Nishthas prescribed by Paramatma? He has prescribed Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga is called Pravrutti Marga. Jnana Yoga is called Nivrutti Marga. Pravrutti Marga, Nivrutti Marga. Pravrutti Marga means the marga of an active person, a householder. Karma Yoga is a Pravrutti Marga, a marga for a householder, an active person. Jnana Yoga is Nivrutti Marga. It is more of withdrawal, life of withdrawal of all the desires, and withdrawal of all raga and dvesha. So, withdrawal of ardha kama dharma and sticking to moksha only. So, withdrawal of all pravrutti margam. So, that is the nivrutti margam. In the last class, I mentioned about 3 routes to attain moksha. Let us see what are the 3 routes. The first route is one has to enter brahmacharyam, celibacy. In that celibacy, he goes to a guru and learns the Veda Puro Bhagam, the Karma Kanda. So this is the first part of the life. So after the first part is over, this will take around 12 years to complete the study of the Veda Purvam. After completion, he has to marry and enter into Gruhastha Ashramam. So when he marries, he enters into Gruhastha Ashramam and he has to fulfill all the responsibilities. With that family life, the person will run his family life and then do all kinds of charity and whatever is prescribed by Veda, he performs. All the injunctions he performs. Injunctions prescribed by Veda, he performs. And then at the fag end of the life, he and his wife gives up all the responsibilities and hand it over to children, and they go to one isolated place. One isolated place. What is that isolated place? Maybe it is a place where the people are not thronging, relatives are not there. So such a isolated place, and then they practice this nididhyasana. Then after that, they can take sannyasa and also continue the brahmanistha. So this is the first route for moksha. The second route for moksha is from Gruhastha Ashramam, he will not take the sannyasa ashramam. He will continue to be Gruhastha and perform all the rituals and take up all the responsibilities. Yet learn the knowledge and stay in Brahmanishta. Like Janaka Maharaja. There are many Gruhastu Jnanis. So, all these Gruhastu Jnanis, they led family life and then had this knowledge. There are so many Gruhastu Jnanis. So, they had the household life and then performed this. They led this family life and then they are in the Brahmanishta. Then the next and final route is from Brahmacharyam. He will not enter into Gruhastha Ashramam. He will go to directly Sannyasa. He skips Gruhastha Ashramam and enters into Sannyasa Ashramam. So Sannyasa Ashramam, he will approach a guru and then take up this Jnanam and attain Jnananishta. So the difference between Gruhastu and Sannyasi is Gruhastu will have a lot of responsibilities and he has to feed brahmacharis and the vanaprasthis and then sannyasis. He has to do a lot of charity. He has to earn and feed these three categories. And a lot of responsibilities are there for Gruhastu. And he is supposed to perform all Vedic rituals. For sannyasi, the Vedic rituals are not there. He can only learn and do Parayanam and Guru Susrusha, and then in the Jnananishta he can remain for hours together. So, Dve Maya Prokta. Paramatma said these two nishtas are prescribed by me. Pura Prokta. Pura Prokta means when did I prescribe? Long ago. I prescribed this very ancient time. How did he prescribe this? Yo Brahmanam vidadati purvam yo vai vedamsya prahinoti tasmai. So when he created this world, he also created Chaturmukha Brahma and all this Srishti. Along with the Srishti, he also gave this Veda. So the Vedas were given at the time of Srishti itself. So this is how Paramatma gave this long ago. Then the word Sankhya means sannyasi. Brahmachari need not earn. He will not have any bank account. 24/7 he can revel on Brahma. So how he can get the food? Whenever he is hungry, he can go to a house and say, Bhavati Brichandehi. So he can beg and then get his food. So a society which provides maximum benefit to a thinking person, it is an intelligent person, intelligent society. A society which can provide maximum benefit to a thinking person is an intelligent society. See the scientists in the advanced countries, the scientists are given maximum freedom. They can, in the universities, they can enter into their research lab at any time and do their research. They were given sufficient the paraphernalia and sufficient infrastructure to do their research. Most of the private industry also support these scientists, because these thinking people only can bring progress to the country. In the same way, these jnanis must be fed and they must be given encouragement. If they also take the responsibility like a householder, they cannot do this Brahmanishta. because the subject is so vast, one has to devote a lot of time. In Bhagavad Gita itself, there are 8 to 9 bhashyams are there. Along with Shankara Bhashya, there are 8 to 9 bhashyas are there. The 9th bhashya is the bhashyam which gives a concise meaning of all the 8 bhashyas. If you take Brahma Sutras, it has got 555 sutras. The Chatussutri itself has got 4 different volumes, huge volumes. So our literature is so vast, one has to devote a lot of time. So a jnani is given this privilege that he can devote his time on Brahma, he can revel on Brahma, and his the other requirements like food, shelter and all that should be taken care by the society, should take care of their day-to-day needs. So this is how our society is built. Yogam means, yoginam means, yogam means for active people. Karma yoga is for gruhasthus. Lifestyle prescribed by karma yoga and pancha maha yajnas are prescribed for these householders. Now we will proceed to sloka number 4. Na karmaṇāmanārambhānnaiṣkarmyaṁ puruṣō śnutē na ca saṁnyasanādēva siddhiṁ samadhigacchati. Karmaṇāmanārambhāt puruṣah naishkarmyam na asnutē. Saṁnyasanādēva siddhiṁ na samadhigacchati. By avoiding action, a person does not attain liberation. By avoiding action, a person does not attain liberation. Arjuna wants to run away. So, Paramatma is telling, simply by avoiding action, you will not get moksha. By mere renunciation, only by wearing a saffron robe, you will not get moksha. By renouncing action without cleansing the antakanas, one does not attain moksha. So before renouncing, one has to get purified. That antakarana suddhi must happen. Otherwise, simply by wearing saffron robes, one cannot attain the moksha. That is what Paramatma is cautioning. Purification requires karma yoga. Lord Krishna Paramatma wants to emphasize karma yoga in this sloka. He says that you should not avoid karma, and in fact, you cannot avoid karma. Reason, by giving up action, you cannot get moksha. You can avoid samsara, but you cannot get peace of mind. By running away from the family in going to Rishikesh, your mind lingers around the family only. So your mind is not free. Though you are physically away from the family, your mind is not free. Your mind still lingers around the family. So by renouncing or by running away from the duty and family, you will not get peace of mind. So with such a confused mind, you cannot get moksha. This sannyasihood always looks brighter for a householder, because he thinks that he is not having any duty, he is enjoying the life. Like the other bank is always greener from this side of the bank, from this side of the river. He thinks that the problem is only the family. and then runs away. He doesn't know the problem is with the mind. Na karmaṇāṁ anārambhāt puruṣō na śnutē naishkarmyaṁ. Saṁnyasena moksha. Scriptures say by taking sannyasa you get moksham, but then here Paramatma says simply by mere wearing saffron robes you will not get moksha. Na karmana na prajaya na dhanena tyāgenaike amrutatvam ānasu. This mantra says karma will not give moksha, your children will not give moksha, money will not give moksha, only renunciation will give you moksha. So he says, okay, I will renounce my family and run away. But then he forgets, by renouncing duties and family, means not physically, he should renounce mentally, the trikarana suddhi, with all three, manasā, vācā, karmana, he has to renounce, which is not easy. It's not an easy task, because out of emotion he may run away, but his mind always lingers around the family. So, na karmaṇāmanārambhānnaiṣkarmyaṁ puruṣō śnutē. For such sadhaka, moksham is not possible, because by running away from his duties and avoiding karma, he will not get moksha. Why? Vedanta vijnana sunishchitārtha saṁnyasa yogat yataya suddha sattvaha te brahmalokeshu paranta kale parimucyanti sarve. Vedanta vijnana sunishchitārtha. This is chanted. We had this mantra in Mundakopanishad. Whenever a sannyasi comes, we invite them with an honor, with a purna kumbham, and then chant this mantra. Vedanta vijnana sunishchitārtha. He should be full with knowledge. When he will be full with knowledge, when his antakaranās are purified. Otherwise, his knowledge is only academic. By attaining mere academic knowledge, one cannot get moksha. Na karmaṇāmanārambhānnaiṣkarmyaṁ puruṣō śnutē. Just by mere kashaya vastras, by wearing kashaya vastra, akarobes, the saffron robe, one will not get moksha. By avoiding action, you will not get moksha. Nacha saṁnyasanādēva siddhiṁ samadhigacchati. By taking up a sannyasa lifestyle, also one will not get. So, this is a strong caution given by Lord Paramatma himself. This notion is there in the scriptures. By taking up sannyasa, one will get moksha. So what they do usually, these gruhasthus, at the time of death, if they notice that they are going to die, then they take manasa sannyasam. They invoke that sannyasam and then they act like sannyasis. But then suddenly they pick up and they don't die, they live happily. Then there will be a kind of conflict, whether to remain with the family or to continue as a sannyasa. This is called āpaddharma sannyasam. With this āpaddharma sannyasam, because he is not mentally prepared, his mind is not ready for sannyasam, only he wanted to take the advantage of that sannyasahood at the last minute. But the things are reversed. He regained his health and he did not die. So there will be a conflict. He cannot live with the family nor he cannot continue as a sannyasa because he is not ready for sannyasa lifestyle. So, this kind of problems do arise when one takes up sannyasa out of emotion, not out of maturity. So, na karmaṇāmanārambhānnaiṣkarmyaṁ puruṣō śnutē. You cannot avoid your responsibility when you are a householder. So, by avoiding responsibilities and totally doing the spiritual activity, you will not get moksha. You have to perform your duties as a householder. You should not be irresponsible. Nacha saṁnyasanādēva siddhiṁ samadhigacchati. By taking a sannyasihood, mere sannyasi, without absorbing the knowledge. Out of emotion only he takes up the tropes. Then such thing also will not give moksha. If that gives moksha, it is very easy to get moksha. You can, wear sannyasa vastram, that is kashaya vastram or saffron robe. You can distribute saffron robes and ask everybody to wear it. If that gives moksha, it is not so. It is not that easy. Then about the nature of karma, Paramatma is emphasizing, nahi kaścitkṣaṇamapi jātu tiṣṭhatyakarmakr, nahi kaścitkṣaṇamapi. Even for a moment, a person cannot remain without action. Nahi kaścitkṣaṇamapi jātu tiṣṭhatyakarmakr kāryatē hyavaśaḥ karma sarvaḥ tijairguṇaiḥ. Sarvaḥ tijairguṇaiḥ. Kaśchit jātu षणमपि akarmakr nahi tiṣṭhati. Indeed, one can never remain without action. Even for a moment, everyone is helplessly made to do action. By the guna born of prakriti. By giving up your duties and actions, you cannot get moksha. Kshanamapi akarmakr na tiṣṭhati. This giving up action for the sake of sannyasa out of emotion is only a farce, a superficial action. It is not possible. Kabir Das tells that the tongue is rolling with Ramanama and hand is moving this japamala along with Ramanama, but the mind is rolling all over the world. So, mentally you cannot keep quiet, or physically you cannot keep quiet. So, something or other always will be doing. So, without action, it is not possible to stay. Jātu षणमपि, not even a moment. Kaśchit puruṣah na tiṣṭhati. Not even a single person can stay without action. Suppose you imagine that you are making an ornament, then you have with pure gold, it is not possible to make an ornament. So they mix some percentage of copper or silver. So some 6% of copper is mixed with gold, and the ornaments are made. Then in that ornament also you have got 6% of copper. That copper mixture is there. In the same way, the prakriti tijairguṇaiḥ, prakriti janya gudam, prakriti is, prakriti, that Maya generates some gunas. Maya has got 3 gunas, that is sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. So every person is predominantly having one guna, sattva guna, rajo guna, or tamo guna. When a sannyasi, when a householder becomes a sannyasi, or a brahmachari becomes a sannyasi, naturally he also inherits this guna, as the ornament is inheriting that 6% copper. So whatever is the guna he has before the sannyasa, the same guna will continue. Prakriti tijairguṇaiḥ, prakriti janya gunam will manifest even though he is a sannyasa. Suppose he is a rajasic person. He's a rajasic person, let us say. Then what happens? He takes up, all kinds of, agitations. Then he says that, all sannyasis must be given free land. Then he forms a Rishikesh Sannyasi Association and fights for their rights and all that. If he is a sattvic person, let us say, then he conducts a kind of blood bank. He finds food, free food for sannyasis. Like that, some action or other he will be doing. If he is commercially oriented, then he sells rudrakshas. He will get it from Indonesia and sells it. So even as a sannyasi, he cannot keep quiet. Then for ordinary people also, you can do an experiment. Swamiji says, you give a pamphlet before the meeting to each and every participant in the meeting. And at the end, you collect back the pamphlet. The pamphlets will not come intact. Some may become paper boards. Some are torn. Some are crumpled. Some are they are totally destroyed. So like that, something or other people will be doing. Nobody can sit idle. They either swing their legs while sitting. Then if they sit in the lawn, they just pluck the grass. In meditation, they want to stop the mind. That is the biggest problem. You cannot stop the mind. All kinds of thoughts will linger. So what Vedantic meditation says is, don't stop your mind. Instead of stopping the mind, you channelize the mind. Give the mind a direction. The Vedantic meditation. So if you give the direction, then mind will flow in that direction and you get benefited. So jātu षणमप न tiṣṭhati. A person cannot give up action, not even a moment. न karmaṇāmanārambhānnaiṣkarmyaṁ puruṣō śnutē, न च saṁnyasanādēva siddhiṁ samadhigacchati. Without entering into karma yoga, nobody can ever get moksha. This is what we have learned. Now, further Paramatma says, na kaścitkṣaṇamapi jātu tiṣṭhatyakarmakr. Nobody can ever think of sitting idle. They will be doing some activity or other. There is a story in the Shastra, all of you must be knowing already. There was one sannyasi living in the temple. So he used to sit right in front of the Bhagavan's idol, and with closed eyes he will be always contemplating. the temple authority is to feed him. He is very pious and a good sannyasi. So temple authorities respected him. All the pujaris and people around, they respect him. And the authorities give him food. He doesn't take any money. So it was going on like that for so many years. One fine morning, the dharmakarta, the endowment officer, changed. One new officer came to that temple. He wanted to do the cost cutting. He wanted to minimize the cost and get the maximum revenue. So he found all the possible ways of cutting cost. He found that the food for sannyasi. So he said, what is this sannyasi? He asked those people, the clerks and all that, what is the sannyasi's food? Then they said, there's a sannyasi in this particular temple. He sits in that temple hall for hours together and meditate. We feed him. Then the endowment officer said, if he is not doing any work, if he is not useful to the temple, why feed? Why feed him? So let us stop this wrong activity. This kind of unnecessary activity will stop. So the pujaris felt bad and they told the sannyasi, from today onwards you will not get food from the temple, because the new officer came and he ordered that no food should be supplied to you. So sannyasi said, okay, if I am not doing anything, if that is the case, let your officer come and sit in front of me at least for 1 hour without doing anything. They went and told, this is what the sannyasi challenged you. Officer felt that he could do that and prove that sannyasi is useless. So he agreed to sit right in front of that sannyasi and closed his eyes and sat for some time. For 5 minutes he could sit. After 5 minutes he felt bored. He wanted to move his hands and then stretch his legs. And then 10 minutes he is totally agitated. He cannot sit more than a minute after 10 minutes. So he got up and went to his seat and called those pujaris and said that today onwards we will give food to him. So this is what the state of human mind is. No person can sit idle. Jātu tiṣṭhatyakarmakr. This is what the Shastra says. Now you may get a doubt, how come this sannyasi sitting idle when the sloka says jati tiṣṭhati akarmakr? Nobody can ever sit idle. Sannyasi is also not idling. He is engaged mentally. His action is mental action, manasika vyapara, manasa vyapara. So he is contemplating. Throughout the day he is contemplating on God. So he is also doing karma mentally. So that way every person is engaged with one karma or another. There is nobody who can avoid karma. This is what Paramatma wants to say. So you cannot run away from this kartrutva dharmam. So there are two important points one has to notice in this. One is, by giving up action, you do not get moksham. This is point number one. Then second point, you cannot give up action. Even as a sannyasi, he cannot give up action. That is why he is asked to do some action like, Parayanam and Guru Susrusha, some action is prescribed for him also. So, no person can ever keep himself without any action. So, sloka number 6. Karmēndriyāṇi saṁyamya āstē manasā smaran indriyārthānvimūḍhātmā mithyācārasya ucyatē. Yaha karmēndriyāṇi saṁyamya manasā indriyārthān smaran āstē sa vimūḍhātmā mithyācāra ucyatē. Having restrained the sense organs of action, the deluded person who remains dwelling on the sense objects mentally is called a hypocrite. Simply, without processing, he wants to engage himself in the sannyasahood. For such person, the sannyasam becomes a big problem. He only becomes a pseudo sannyasi. He only appears as a sannyasi for outward world, but inside, in his mind, he is not a sannyasi. He is a hypocrite. Mithyācārasya ucyatē. Saha mithyācāraḥ ucyatē. So, giving up action without maturity, without processing the mind, is a highly risky affair. A person needs sociological needs, psychological needs, and physical needs. Like that, there are 5 needs mentioned by Maslow. So, all these needs are necessary for a person to live. So, unless he processes, he cannot overcome this. Unless he achieves that Vedantic mental stability, maturity, he cannot withstand the sannyasa life. People say we cannot live alone because he is used to so many people around him. So alone he cannot live. Wherever he goes, he wants some company. He wants always somebody to accompany him. So, such a person is not fit for sannyasam. The society should remember me, he thinks, and then he builds a house and puts his name. So, such a kind of egoistic person, such a person who respects his own self-esteem and who always thinks of his name, fame and other things, he cannot give up the work and he cannot become a sannyasi. On the contrary, there are other extremes. Some people say that we love work and we don't want to come out of this. Some people are like that also, the other extreme. They say that we want to have next janma and do the same karma again. They'll be doing good work. They'll be doing charity and social work and everything, but they want to continue in every janma like that. But Shastra says that is also not good. You have to do this social work and get yourself purified and move towards jnana. The Shastra does not say you don't have to stop charity. You can continue your charity. If you become a sannyasi, you can request your students to do charity, because you do not have any money. So that is how one has to move from karma to jnanam, but merely by emotion, if one moves, then it will be a problem. Out of emotion, if one takes up, he becomes a pseudo sannyasi. Only for outward world, he becomes a sannyasi. For his own benefit, he is not a sannyasi. So, mithyācārasya ucyatē. Such a person is called mithyācāri. Dayanandaji, before taking sannyasa, he went to Rishikesh, and some of the sannyasis advised him not to take up sannyasa. Sannyasam is a very wretched life. One sannyasi told, it seems, I ran away from the house because my wife did not give me coffee in time. For 2 days I loved these Himalayas, then the Ganges. It was wonderful. The third day onwards, the same Himalayas, the same Ganges. I cannot, but I cannot go back. The sannyasam is a one-way traffic. From gruhastu to sannyasam is a one-way traffic. One cannot come back and enter into gruhasthashramam. That is a blasphemy. That is not allowed. So, maturity and mindset is very, very important for a sannyasi. Saha mithyācāraḥ ucyatē. So, he is called mithyācāri. Mithyācāri, this is the topic Paramatma wants to say, that by taking sannyasa emotionally, if you have not processed what happens. One sannyasi went to an isolated place and he was living peacefully and contemplating. He also had built a small hut for himself and he is spending time in meditation. One day a rat entered his hut and started creating havoc. And slowly it bring other rats also. The rats, grew in numbers. The rats multiplied in huge numbers and became a big battalion. They made holes on his kaupinam. Kaupinam means a small piece of cloth to cover his vitals. So, to get away from this situation, he brought a cat. When he brought a cat, then to feed cat, he was buying milk and feeding the cat for some time, and then he felt I should buy a cow so that the cat can be fed easily. So he brought a cow. Then to maintain the cow, he hired a servant maid. And when the servant maid is around, he started loving her. And then finally he married her. He had children. Then all his sannyasa diksha has gone to dogs. So it all started with the kaupina rakshanam. Kaupina rakshanārdam ayam patatopaha. Kaupina rakshanārdam ayam patatopaha. This is what he wondered. Just because I want to safeguard this kaupinam, I had this samsara. So this is how the samsara will lure a person away from sannyasam. So one must be matured and he should process his antakarnas, then only he is fit for the sannyasam. So otherwise he will become a mithyācāri, pseudo sannyasi. Jatilo mundi lunchita kesah kāshāyāmbara bahukruta veshah pasyannapina pasyati mūdaha udara nimittam bahukruta veshah. There will be so many people just for sannyasam's sake. They take up different attires. They have a long beard. Some will have this jatas. Some will have the shaved head. So like that they wear kashayambaram. kashayambara bahukruta vesha. With kashayambara, different types of veshas. Pasyan api na pasyati modaha. Even the God is around, this modha is unable to see him because he has not processed and he is not having any guru. Without guru, simply out of emotion, he wore the dress. Udara nimittam bahukruta vesha. Just for feeding, he wore the dress. This is how in Bhajagovindam, Shankaracharya's Bhajagovindam, a mithyācāri is criticized. Agne vaknihi pruṣṭhe bānuhu ratro chubuka samarpita jānuhu karatala bitta tarutala vāsaha tadapi na munchati āṣā pāṣaha. Right in front of him, the bonfire is there. Behind him, the eastern sun is there. That is the daytime. During the night, his chin is touching the four legs. Karatala bitshaha, in the hand, that bitsha patra is there. Tarutala vasaha, he sleeps under the tree. So he has got all kinds of this withdrawal symptoms, but the mind is lingering. Tadapi na munchati āṣā pāṣaha. Even though he is having that austere life, withdrawal life, but mind is still lingering. Tadapi na munchati āṣā pāṣaha. The mind is still lingering. So one should be very, very alert and careful. So the sum and substance of this three slokas, Paramatma wants to emphasize two things, because Arjuna wants to run away from the society, run away from the battlefield, and to avoid the war. He is not having that sadhana chatushtaya sampannam. He is not having that refinedness and readiness to take up the jnanam and enter into jnana nishtha. Though Paramatma explained the moksha shastram, his mind is not matured enough to take up the sannyasam. That is why time and often Paramatma said, therefore you fight. Tasmad yujyasva bharata. Hey Bharata, go and fight, take up. So that is what the Paramatma wants to emphasize. Without karma, without karma yoga, one cannot enter jnana yoga. So one has to perform karma yoga. Chinmayananda used to give sannyasam to most of his students. So after sannyasam, he advocates them to go around the world and serve the world. Paryatana. Yes, they have to do paryatana and then serve the world. Once they serve the world, then they get this cleansing done. Then whatever the knowledge they acquire, that will yield fruits. So he advises all his students not to stay in the ashram after sannyasam. They have to go to different places of the world and serve the people by spreading the knowledge. Then they will get this cleansing done. So this is what the system is. Paramatma is advising Arjuna to enter into karma yoga first and then jnana yoga. So this is the sum and substance. So next class we will continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnascha Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.